The English called him a traitor. The Scots called him a hero. History called him a myth. But the truth, William Wallace was a man who turned his pain into rebellion and his beard into a banner of freedom. This is the beardtery of William Wallace. Welcome back, everybody. This one's going to be a good one. You're going to want to stick around. Not only are we going to give you the history, that's the Terry and beardtery, we're going to talk about the beard, and we're going to rank the beardtery of William Wallace. We're going to see if he can crack the top 20 on all of the beards that we have ranked here on Beardtery. Without further ado, let's jump into this, because long before the name Braveheart was even whispered through the glens, William Wallace was simply the second son of a minor nobleman born around 1270 in Scotland. And at that time, Scotland was a land split by politics and pride. And when King Alexander III died without a clear heir, England's King Edward I, known as Longshanks, saw an opportunity. Under the guise of helping Scotland, he seized control, installing puppet rulers and garrisons of English soldiers throughout the land. Wallace grew up in, this tension. A devoutly Catholic boy taught to read Latin, likely educated by the monks at Paisley Abbey. He wasn't rich, but he was educated, which already made him dangerous. Education meant awareness. Awareness meant defiance. As the English grip tightened, Wallace's defiance began to simmer. Some sources say he killed an English soldier over a simple insult. Others, they claimed it was over a woman. Whatever the spark, it ignited a fire that couldn't be put out. By his 20s, he was living as an outlaw, hunted but fearless. His face and the rough, wind-torn beard became the unseen symbol of rebellion spreading across the glens. By 1297, the people of Scotland, they had enough. Wallace and another rebel, Andrew de Moray, raised the Scottish standard and took up arms. Their timing was perfect. Edward I was fighting in France, leaving weaker English forces in Scotland. The first major strike came at Stirling Bridge, a narrow wooden crossing over the River Forth. On September 11, 1297, Wallace's smaller ragtag force faced a massive English army led by John de Warenne and Hugh de Cressingham. The English expected, an easy victory. But Wallace was no fool. He let the English army begin to cross the narrow bridge just enough so that they were trapped. Then he struck. The Scots surged forward, cutting down hundreds before the rest could even react. The bridge collapsed, bodies filled the river, and Cressingham was killed. His skin allegedly flayed and turned into a belt for Wallace. The battle wasn't just a victory, it was a message. Scotland still breathes. The rebellion, it spread like wildfire. Wallace was soon named Guardian of Scotland, leading armies, planning defenses, and forging alliances. For a brief shining moment, Scotland was free again, and the man with the wild beard became its beating heart. But freedom won by rebellion rarely lasts without unity. The Scottish nobles, jealous, divided, self-interested, began to fracture. In 1298, Edward I returned with a massive army, veterans hardened by years of war. The two forces clashed at the Battle of Falkirk. Wallace's men, mostly commoners armed with spears, fought fiercely, forming circular patterns bristling like hedgehogs to repel cavalry. But English archers rained arrows from afar, and the Scottish lines began to break. Wallace escaped into the shadows, resigned his guardship, and became a fugitive once again. For the next several years, he traveled secretly through Scotland and even France, seeking aid from the French king. Letters, they still survive, actually, showing him negotiating as Scotland's representative, proof that he was more than just a brute warrior. He was actually a strategist. He was a diplomat. But betrayal stalked him. In 1305, he was captured near Glasgow by Sir John Menteith, a fellow Scot who turned him over to the English. Wallace was taken to London in chains, dragged through the, jeering crowds to Westminster Hall. He was accused of treason, a charge he met with defiance, declaring, "I cannot be a traitor to Edward, for I was never his subject." That beard, now matted, weathered, streaked with blood and pride, hung like a banner of resistance as he faced his sentence. On August 23rd, 1305, Wallace was hanged, disemboweled, beheaded, and quartered, his limbs sent to the corners of the kingdom as a warning. But instead of fear, it birthed legend. In death, William Wallace became immortal. His name became a whisper of defiance through the centuries, a symbol for every Scot who refused to kneel. His life proved that sometimes, even when the body falls, the idea, the beard, it endures. Over 700 years later, his story still thunders through history. The National Wallace Monument rises above Stirling, overlooking the same land he once defended. Historians continue to debate his true lineage and appearance. Was he really the noble knight that we picture, or something rougher, more human? What's certain, though, is that his legend has been carved deep into Scottish identity, from poems by Blind Harry in the 15th century to the 1995 film Braveheart. Wallace's beard has become, a thing to represent the eternal struggle for freedom. And though Braveheart took some creative liberties, the kilts, the romance with Princess Isabella, and those blue painted faces, it reignited the world's fascination with a man whose courage refused to die quietly. Wallace's story reminds us that freedom is rarely gifted, it's seized, sometimes by men whose beards were as fierce as their hearts. Let's go ahead and rank his beard. We're going to start with the fear factor. It's the kind of beard that you see charging across a mist-covered field, sword raised, and instantly question whether today's the day you meet your maker. It's raw, unpolished, and commands primal respect. So for me, 8.3 out of 10. Let's go with wisdom points. It's not bookish, but deeply tactical. Wallace read people, and he read terrain and timing better than most kings read scriptures. His beard carried the weight of experience, strategy, and conviction. So for me, 7.9 out of 10. Intimidation level. Even chained and bloodied, he looked every bit of the warrior. His enemies feared his return from the dead, and legends say English soldiers refused to speak his name aloud at night. That's pretty intimidating. For me, 9.4 out of 10. Let's go thickness and wildness, because it was wind-tossed, it was rain-soaked, blood-soaked. It was a Highland mane that defied order. It was the visual definition of rebellion, a living flag of defiance against a tyrant's crown. For me, 9.1 out of 10. Historical impact, though he never lived to see Scotland free, his sacrifice inspired centuries of resistance. His beard became more than facial hair. It became a national banner. So for me, 8.7 out of 10. And if my math is mathin', it's a 43.4 out of 50. Freedom. It's a word that gets tossed around. Easy these days. But for William Wallace, it was worth everything. His land, his blood, his name. And where does he rank amongst all of the greats? Did he crack that top 20? Is this beard had been done justice? Well, you'll have to let us know. Because every time a man stands up to something bigger than himself, every time someone says, no, not today, that's Wallace. That's the echo of his voice in the wind. That's the beard that defied a king, still standing tall. So the next time life tries to chain you down, remember, legends aren't born in peace. They're forged in fire and grown under beards thick enough to weather a storm. I'm Matt, and this has been a Beardtery. Until next time, keep your courage high and your beard even higher. Take care, everybody.